We're inside the studio with Rob TMO Plater. He's been nice enough to sit down. What's up, Rob?
What's up, man? How's it going?
Good, man. Now, unlike a lot of artists that we've seen in the scene, you're actually from New York.
Uh-huh.
Tell us a little bit about growing up and how that's inspired your work.
Um, yeah, I don't think I grew up that much different from a lot of kids, New York kids. I grew up in East New York, Brooklyn. I had two brothers. I was the middle kid, and then my mom is Puerto Rican, my dad's black. My mom was from Puerto Rico, so early on there was just there was already a strong influence from just being half Puerto Rican and being in Brooklyn too, and the pride and some of the traditions that are associated with that. So, for me, I was just kind of like I was a sponge. I was absorbing everything. Um, and one of my earliest influences and just kind of things that affected me was seeing just New York in general, the architecture and being on the trains and the J train. That was my train, being in East New York. So the elevated train line. My favorite thing was I used to just look out the windows and just kind of check out the rooftops and see some of the tags and the graffiti and characters. And seeing that kind of imagery early on gave me a lot of ideas. So I wanted to draw that, and then considering that I didn't really get to do a whole lot. My mom was she was a tough mom, so I wasn't able to run around the streets and go crazy. But I was in the house. Me and my brother would always get our Saturday morning cartoons, and then from there, that along with like a lot of the graffiti and street art that I was seeing. I wouldn't say street art. I was looking at graffiti, primarily graffiti, and that's where I started to draw, and that's where I started deciding, this was something I wanted to do. So I think two pioneers for me, my older brother and my older cousin Louis. He passed, but they were like about as New York as you could get. Some crazy New York Puerto Ricans, but they were
Right.
always very much involved in just kind of like drawing and doing their graffiti tags, and so that's pretty much they were my influences.
So, we noticed in your work that you have this graffiti style, but you also have these figurative characters.
Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit about where those characters kind of come about in your mind, and how they're going to play a role kind of in your thought process and your upcoming art.
Well, I think characters, it's people have done it for a long time, and people continue to do that in painting and figurative painting or illustration, whatever you're looking at. In my work, characters are just a way to kind of drive the story. You watch a movie, you need protagonists, you need an antagonist to just kind of relate it back to yourself, and
Absolutely.
for it to make sense. So, yeah, for me, characters, it's all about just kind of driving my story, and I'm using them as a vehicle to kind of make all of this craziness make sense.
Yeah, and in terms of your creative process, what are some of the things that you inspire you and you kind of take in order to make some of these images?
As far as the things that inspire me, you mean as far as just where the characters come from, or?
Yeah, where they come from, and they're obviously deep in your mind. So
Yeah, that's easy. Well, the first thing that comes to mind, I think, like one thing I say sometimes is like my work. Primarily, it's kind of a way for me to get out a lot of ideas and thoughts, and even frustrations about the way I feel about anything, whether it be my childhood, or social, like kind of like social trending topics, or just anything that happens in the world that I have an opinion about, or I feel, or it kind of makes me feel a certain way. That's what the work is. That's what I do with the work. So the characters come in. I use them to kind of almost be like just literal or like symbolic to just like emotions, or just kind of like whether it be I'm angry, so this character is going to kind of embody that. And then I decided to even dig deeper and think about like the psychology or just the idea of like where we start out, and we started as kids. Like most people, when they're kids, they're drawing or they're doing something.
Right.
So as a kid, you're still trying to figure out things about yourself, and a lot of it is done through drawing and little dinosaurs or little like drawing your mom or something like that. So that's what the figures. I think for the most part, they're stand-ins for like myself. They might be stand-ins for family members, and then I'll play around with kind of the idea of role-playing and persona, which is, I think it's pretty relevant to people walking around. We're always kind of dealing with the struggle of like, what do we identify with? Who are we? Because you can't really just say I'm a person. People, that's not satisfying enough. It doesn't make you feel good enough about yourself. So you have to be something. You have to be a cop. You have to be a lawyer. You have to be whatever it is, a superhero. If you're
Put a label on yourself.
Exactly. So that's kind of the idea I play with, and it was always interesting. Even it's always interesting to think like what if it's more about the act of just the act of the emotion associated with like trying to embody this, trying to be like Superman or trying to be like an elephant when you're just like a kid or you're just a human being. So that's also where kind of the suits come in. So it's basically, in a nutshell, it's just these characters, they're wearing suits or they're wearing masks or something to kind of cover up what it is they really are on the inside, or it's just kind of like something that they're trying to be, but they're not really meant to be that or whatever it is. I think it can be interpreted a number of ways. So I'm never one to kind of, tell people how to feel about it. I think I just want to provoke thought, and I'm happy with whatever people think about it.
And you mentioned in there about kind of how people want to label themselves. So how do you go about talking about yourself in terms of, are you a graffiti artist? Are you a street artist? Or maybe none of the above?
Yeah. As far as labels go, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a graffiti artist or a street artist, because it's not true. I think I'm interested in so many genres, and so many of them have gotten me to this point. So, I draw a certain way because of illustration or comic books, and then I paint a certain way because, I was able to go to school and kind of learn traditional techniques, and I love graffiti because I grew up around that. So it's very much part of like my upbringing and my people. You know what I mean? Like hip hop culture and being Puerto Rican and black, being from Brooklyn, being from New York. So I consider myself just an image maker.
Nice.
That's what I do. I create images. I paint. I draw. I do murals. But I'm not gonna sit here and say like I'm a graffiti artist or I'm a street artist. It's cool to say that nowadays. People love that. They see you and they'll hashtag that or whatever. It works for promotional purposes, but
in the long run.
Yeah.
So you talked about your background and where you're kind of at. Talk to us a little bit about what's moving forward, and where we could expect your work next.
Well, one thing I've been able to do in recent months, it was a lot of fun. I got to work with. There's a big mural project happening at EBC High School in Brooklyn, so I was able to do a piece in that high school, and that was a lot of fun. Got a lot of good feedback, and then basically I ended up working on another school, August Martin High School in Queens, and that was part of like a 5 Points project. So they had a crap ton of old school artists, come through and tack up the school, and I got to do a piece in there, so I was honored. So hopefully in the next few months I'll be doing more mural pieces inside schools. Maybe it might be mostly elementary schools, because what I was hoping to do was create a short book or something based on the murals that I do in these schools. So it would be it'd probably be like 8 to 10 pages. So each mural in each school would be like 1 page of the book.
Nice.
Hopefully, if everything falls together and I can figure this crap out, it would be like an 8 to 10 page book, but images of the actual murals. So basically like a children's book. That's the point. It would be like a kid's book, but in mural form.
That's great.
But you would have to like go to every school to see one page of it. So that's one thing. That's like a little bit of a longer project. One thing that's driving me crazy right now, I have this really awesome opportunity coming up at a Fresh Aesthetic in Brooklyn. So with them, they contacted me and they have something coming up, an event for the Puerto Rican Day Parade.
Right.
It's going to be on the 13th. So basically, I'm running through and I'm creating a few pieces that are about Puerto Rican culture or just kind of like anything that will go along with that theme and people could relate to. So I'm still kind of figuring it out as I go along, but I have like a big pun piece I'm going to have in there. I have a newer piece here, Rambo. So I'm pretty much using those as groundwork. I'm just going to keep building, making more pieces, and I'll see what I have, how many pieces I have together by the 13th. But that'll be something. I think it's going to be really fun. I look forward to it. I haven't been to the Puerto Rican Day Parade since I was like 8 or something. So, this for me is really cool. I could like tell my mom she'll be happy.
Great, man. And a couple people are going to be seeing this video, so we want to let people know where they could find out a little bit more about you. Why don't you tell people about your website and maybe some of your social handles?
Sure. Yeah. I think social media is gotten a little easier for me. So primarily, I'm on Facebook. People just wanted to check out work. I have plenty of images, and I'm also available just for like Facebook chatting, whatever it is, friend requests. If you want to check out my website, which I'm going to be updating soon, www.rplater.carbonmade.com. So that's RPLATER.carbonmade. And on Instagram, I'm TMO Plater. So TMO PLATER.
Great, man. We appreciate the time you spent with us today, and we hope everybody enjoyed this video.
Hey, same here, man. Thank you.